What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Kramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. What's up, everyone? I'm your host, Ryan Kramer. Welcome to episode 46 of Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments. Thanks for joining us again on another episode. Live, PingPong Payments actually provides marketplace sellers and entrepreneurs global solutions for controlling their domestic and international funds. An account with us actually to significantly reduce your costs when sending or receiving international payments all in one platform. So go up and sign up for an account today. But we're not about that today. We're going to be talking about a little bit of a cooler subject today. Right now, whether you're joining us either live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or you're listening to us via download on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you consume your podcast, thanks for joining us. Our guest today is actually the founder of 80/20 Sourcing from the Seven Figure Seller Summit as well. He also has helped thousands of e-commerce entrepreneurs save time and money sourcing products from China and to scale their businesses. He's worked with hundreds of Chinese suppliers, having managed multi-million-dollar sourcing campaigns for clients in the US and Latin America. He's fluent in Mandarin Chinese and culturally fluent when it comes to doing business with China and the West, and loves to help others cross this bridge to build their business and relationships. Moreover, he's also been selling on Amazon, Shopify, and eBay himself, as well as other websites over his past 10 years of selling online, as well as owning multiple private label brands. He's been featured on Jungle Scout's $1 Million Case Study, webretailer.com, and spoken to numerous times at the American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai, the Global Sources Summit in Hong Kong, as well as being quoted in the media by NPR as well as Bloomberg. Love it. He's previously served as chair of the American Chamber of Commerce with those committees, and then also has been invited as a delegation to meet with the White House administration and U.S. Congress leaders to share his insights on U.S.-China trade relations and effect on China tariffs on U.S. businesses. Not only that, he has earned his BA from USC in Eastern Asian Languages and Business and received his master's certificate at Hopkins Nanjing Center in Advanced China Studies. Born and raised in LA, he's also a husband and a father. Welcome to the show. I have Crossover Commerce, Gary Huang. Gary, welcome to the show today. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you there. There you go. Look at that. That was a long laundry list of successes. I wish my resume was that long and touted.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the great introduction, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be on. I'm super excited.
Yeah, no problem. And it's just one of those things when you put pen to paper and you think about all the successes that you've done in your life, it's really quite astounding how you write your own history of all the businesses. So again, congratulations on the, all the success so far, but we're not done. You still got more on your plate, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, I mean, today's episode isn't really about me because I created the Seven Figure Seller Summit and I've interviewed over 30 seven-figure Amazon sellers, e-commerce experts to really learn what they're doing right now in 2021 to build e-commerce business, to scale their Amazon business, and to exit, because it's a super exciting time right now. So hopefully these top 7 takeaways and these strategies that we're going to dive into are going to help the people watching today so they can really do this too. They can scale up their businesses.
Absolutely. And to preface this with everyone who's watching or listening live, PingPong is a sponsor of this event. So this is something we wholeheartedly believe is going to help you take your business to the next level with these 7 tips. I myself got to speak on this with Gary, but we got together with other top sellers around the world who are going to take your business to the next level with these tips and tricks. That's why I had Gary on today. I wanted to make sure that we had I call it our 777 episode, our 7 tips to build 7-figure businesses and help you guys grow in 2021, take your business to that next level. That's what everyone wants to do in this industry. We hope you're on your way, but if not, this is what's going to get you there. So Gary, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? If you're okay with that, let's go into number 1. What was your first tip that you are going to share with us today?
Yeah, excellent. And I agree. Before we get into the first tip, I mean, just to talk a little bit about 2021.
Let's do it. Let's set the table.
Yeah, let's set the table, before we dive in, because 2021, it's super exciting time right now in ecom, right? I mean, based on, Ryan, you're in this, all the speakers you've spoken with. I mean, it's almost like 2021, it's almost like 2012 in e-commerce. It's just growing so quickly, and there's so many new product opportunities coming up because the world is really changing, right? So, with COVID, of course, it was, there's all the destruction it caused, but at the same time, COVID-19, it was almost like injecting a growth serum into the arm of Amazon, and then you saw just like 5 years of growth in just a matter of months in 2020, right?
Absolutely.
It was insane. Amazon couldn't keep up. That's why they put all of those inventory restrictions, the IPI index. They can't keep up. Okay. I mean, think about that for a minute. And then all signs are indicate that this is going to continue in 2021 because there's so much uncertainty. Even though the vaccines are coming out, it's taking time. Not everyone can get it. We're not sure, with the second wave, whether you're in the US, whether you're in the UK, or even here in Japan, right? It's still going on. But the key thing is e-commerce is still growing astronomically. And you also see new shoppers coming online, right? New shoppers, spending on Amazon, buying groceries for the first time, especially grandma and grandpa, right? Like the elderly, before, I don't know about you guys, but, kind of like my parents, they were kind of like scared to put their credit card online. They were worried about fraud and stuff. But now, I mean, what's the alternative, right? Are you going to have to like risk it going, rubbing shoulders with everybody at the market, or, you can just order all your groceries, all the stuff that you need day to day online, right? So we're seeing like a huge new segment of consumer shopping online. That's why, when the tide rises, all the boats rise. That's why right now, 2021 e-commerce, it's the time to get in if you haven't already. But at the same time, there's a lot of competition. And Ryan, you and I were talking about this last week, right? Recently, we saw that study. 75% of all the new Amazon sellers last year were from China. Okay, so I'm not saying, all sellers are bad from China. That's a stereotype. That's not true. But at the same time, competition is heating up, right? So there's also all the changes going on, day to day with Amazon, with the inventory controls, with the new rules, this, that, the other thing. That's why previously I only launched the summit once a year, but now we're doing it twice a year because everything's changing so fast. So you guys can have the latest up-to-date trends, the news, what the real sellers are doing. That's why I created this, because I'm a seller myself. It's by sellers for sellers to help you guys out there that want to build, scale, and exit your businesses. All right. So I mean, this is just my personal takeaways, but if this helps, feel free to check out the summit, sevenfiguresellersummit.com. You can get a free pass. We launch February 8th. All right, let's
that's a good plug. No, absolutely, it's super important to everyone to know because this is free content. It's not something you have to pay to get in touch with. Obviously, there's a VIP portion of this, and you can pay for that, but this is free to consume. It's over 4 days of content. The table
is over 5 days of content.
It's five days of content. It's even more.
Even more. And you can get a free pass. Like all the videos are available free 24 hours. So if you want to catch it, I know some people are struggling, financials. I totally understand. That's why we have the free element. So, if you want to catch it for free, totally up to you. But we also have the all access pass. You get lifetime access. You get additional bonuses. PingPong is offering 30 days of free foreign exchange transfers. I mean, that could easily offset the low price of the pass. But, I don't want to be salesy. Let's get into
it's okay. Let's get into tips. Yeah. For everyone who's listening, and again, if you're watching online and you're consuming this real time, go ahead and submit your comments, submit what your takeaways and thoughts are. Give us a hashtag 7FSS. That's for Seven Figure Seller Summit. So we know that you're listening, or just tell us what you think about all these tips that Gary is dropping today. So yeah, Gary, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with number one?
Okay, let's do this. So number one. Okay, so the summit, it's structured over 5 days, almost like the natural growth and evolution of a business. So we're going to talk about mindset first. Okay, mindset and like the fundamentals of building a 7-figure e-commerce business. So number one is mindset tactic 7-figure sellers use is don't see failure as an endpoint. Okay, because no entrepreneur hits a home run the first time they go up to the plate and take a swing at the ball. Okay, nobody does that. Okay, it's not like a get rich quick scheme. And most times people, they swing and they miss. right? Or maybe it's like a base hit. It's not a home run, okay? So the first product usually is not a huge success, but they learn from that, okay? I mean, very few people in this industry are overnight sensations. Like nobody talks about the years and years they spent, in the grind, right? In the dirt, right? Struggling with the product selection, struggling with quality issues with the supplier, dealing with negative feedback, dealing with Amazon suspensions, this, that, and the other thing, okay? So the key thing is, I really love what one of our speakers, Leland Hirschkorn, said. Failure is actually part of success. Okay, mindset. Think about that. Failure is part of success. Okay, it's not the end game. It's what you do and take away from that experience. Okay, so maybe the first product you launched, it wasn't a 7-figure business. It really is. Think of it as an education. Okay, you learned how to find profitable product ideas and how not to find product ideas, right? How to stay away from the crowds, right? You probably learned how to source and ship it probably from China. You got it into the Amazon FBA warehouse. You launched it. You dealt with negative reviews. This, that, and the other thing, right? And then you turned on your PPC campaigns. You got some experience with the search term reports. Okay, so maybe if the first product wasn't a success, you take that, you pivot, okay, with what you learned to create a better second product. Okay, you can launch a third product and more and more. Okay, so that's one of the keys. And then I really love what another 7-figure seller said, Lucy Sherman, based in Australia, who recently exited her business for over $1 million. She said, her mentality with this business is either you win or you learn. Okay, you win or you learn. It's not you made a mistake. It's it. Okay, you win or you learn. So I hope that this is helpful to everyone starting, for the mindset as we set the table. All right. Don't see failure as an end. Failure is part of success. And either you win or you learn. Okay. That's
Absolutely.
Number one.
That's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Number two.
So, all right, Ryan, if you have any questions or anybody has questions watching out there, feel free to weigh in. Yeah.
For those who are who are watching live again, my takeaway from mindset would be, of course, I think it's not easy. I think a lot of people think it's just finding a product, putting it up online, and being 6-7-figure sellers. It's not. It's a lot of learning. It's a lot of doing research. It's a lot of figuring out what you can do to stand out from the crowd. And I think that's a lot harder than a lot of people think. And there's going to be a lot of failures. I know a lot of successful people, 7-figure, 8, 9-figure sellers who have a lot of failed products, and they learn from that. And I think that's what their biggest growth comes from, is finding a product that just misses, and then you iterate from that. So mindset, fantastic first step.
Great. Okay. Should we move on to number two?
Number two, absolutely.
Okay. So number two is in terms of strategy. Okay. I find that, nowadays you can't just launch a Me Too product, right? You can't, if you start out at the same place as everyone else, you end up at the same place as everyone else. Okay. So I would say number two is kind of like this. You got to zig when everyone else zags. Okay. Think about the zigzag, right? You got to zig when everyone else zags. Okay. So if you're, you got to have a unique selling proposition. You got to have some sort of point of differentiation. Okay. You can't just use the same research tools, follow the same, the formulas, and come up with the same product, right? Because if you start out from the same place as everyone else, you end up at the same place as everyone else. If you rely only on the software tools, I'm not saying, don't use the tools, but, don't necessarily use them to give you product ideas. Okay. So, because if you do that, what looks good right now, later on, 3-4 months down the line, you're going to see like 100 sellers selling the exact same thing. It's going to lead to a price war, and that's the last thing you want to be involved in. Okay. So zig when everyone else zags. So going back to Lucy Sherman, 7-figure seller based in Australia, she said, when she created her business, her and her business partner, okay, while everyone else was choosing the same lightweight product that cost around $20, with the low reviews, she went the other way. Okay, she chose an oversized product that people definitely didn't recommend because of all the shipping and then the additional Amazon fees, etc. And then instead of selling it for around like $25, $50, she sold it for $250. Okay, so think about that. She chose an oversized product that other people at that time, the gurus, didn't recommend, and then she sold it for $250. Okay, there were really few other people doing this, and then her and her business partner, they were able to quickly sell out on Amazon, the first order. Okay, so they reordered, they learned from the product mistakes, from the reviews, right? They pivoted. Remember, like rule number one, right? Failure.
That's right.
You either you win or you learn, right? So it was a small win. It wasn't like $1 million business day one. It took 4 years for her to build it up and to exit it for over $1 million, right? People don't talk about all the grind, the hard work, the day to day, right? This isn't a get rich quick scheme. This is a real business that real people are creating now, and generating the wealth, right? It's not a get rich quick scheme. Okay, so the key thing is she zigged when everyone else zagged. Of course, she used research tools to guide her, to help her, but she didn't find the idea from the research tool. Okay, and then something else that I like to add to this is when you're looking for product ideas. I know this is like one of the biggest challenges, sticking points for a lot of the people watching out there. Even if you're a 7-figure seller, it's not that easy, or if you're a beginner, right? So looking for product ideas, I love what our buddy Tim Jordan says, right? He says to look off of Amazon, right? He thinks differently in this respect. And in his training on our 7-figure sales summit, day one, he really walks through how 7-figure sellers find profitable product ideas off of Amazon. Okay, because why? Because Amazon may be saturated. Okay, so he likes to look at other sites like Etsy, for example. There's a lot of handmade custom products out there. You can identify the trends. These products aren't on Amazon, right? And then you can use the tools to do other research, right? He goes on Pinterest, right? A lot of people really they pin things, stuff they like. Maybe it's not mainstream yet. Okay, you can spot trends very early on the product life cycle. Okay, right. And even on YouTube, think about it. It's not just to kill time, right? But he could really dives into different niches, like into cooking. He and I were both into cooking, and then he used a really interesting example to find a dozen product ideas just from one YouTube video. So highly recommend you guys check that out if you get a chance on the summit. But think about looking off of Amazon. All right, you got to zig when everyone else zags. All right, and then the third thing I like to share is about sourcing. Okay, everyone, when they think about sourcing, they think about China. In my prior career, that's what I did, right? I got my hands dirty. I visited hundreds of Chinese factories, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've seen most of it all. All right. At the same time, if you're sourcing the exact same thing from the same place as everyone else, it kind of, it's easy for people to copycat that, right? So, think differently. Zig when everyone else zags. Consider India, for example. Okay, India is up and coming when it comes to sourcing. Okay, it doesn't offer the same broad selection, but there's certain categories in wooden products, for example, in eco-friendly products, in certain types of handmade type products. Okay, lighting fixtures, for example. In our summit, we had Meghala Bardwaj. She's really the go-to person when it comes to sourcing from India. She runs the India sourcing trip, the virtual India sourcing fair. And then there's a lot of potential profitable products, looking away from where everyone else is looking. All right. Why do you do this? Because if you do this, probably 95% of people aren't looking at it. So you can find more products that other people aren't looking at, to differentiate yourself and also to reduce the number of copycats, because 75% of the new sellers are from China, right? So it's harder for Chinese sellers to find products from India versus in China. Okay. So I really hope this is helpful, guys. Zig when everyone else is zagging. And if anybody watching, if this is resonating, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. I really love to hear both sides of the argument. And if you're doing something like this, let us know. I hope that this is interactive. I don't want to just be,
no, absolutely. No, yeah, you're not talking. You'll talk to me if anyone, Gary. So yeah. When you said zig when everyone else zags, I instantly thought of our friend Tim Jordan, because this is something he's all about the puns or the anecdotes of, philosophy in terms of that regard, but he has a good point in this regard. And I say that because his being successful, I think he is in the kitchen products and selling online. He has a lot of good points that says get your inspiration, find the keyword or the niche first, and then the product comes later. Find the opportunity first, and then don't fit your product into something that's overcrowded, because that's exactly what the opposite of this point is when you are going with competition, it's much more difficult to stand out with either PPC or branding or however you're trying to stand out from the crowd. That's literally the opposite of what you should be doing. Find that need in the marketplace, find if it's sustainable, and then find a product that would fit that need. So that definitely resonates with me. And then Megla, obviously talking with India and sourcing from there, friend of the show. I've been touting a lot of people from that as well. A lot of people should be looking into different countries in terms of sourcing and finding products, not just for those natural products, but upcoming, just other types of business opportunities there as well. So definitely makes sense to look at something and ask those questions. Hey, is it possible if I can do this here? I would go here, but maybe I can do it either cheaper or better here and make better sense. So fantastic tip. Tip number 3.
All right. So next is what I like to call David can beat Goliath in the battle of e-commerce. Okay. David can beat Goliath. Okay.
All right.
So, I mean, everybody knows the story of David versus Goliath, right? So in e-com, small brands like us, the FBA sellers, the private label sellers, we can win against the big global corporations when we sell on Amazon and e-commerce. Why? Because small brands, they're kind of like speedboats. We can really weave in and out. We can pick up the fish. We can avoid all the coral reefs and stuff. And then meanwhile, the big lumbering corporations, they're like cruise ships. It's really hard for them to pivot, to move. Once they're set a destination, they're kind of stuck there. It's like the Titanic, what happened, right? So case in point is a 7-figure seller, Ben Leonard from the UK. Okay. He started his business as a side hustle when he was working. I think he was an ecologist, actually. He comes from a science background, but he literally said he was working out of his cupboard. He had his laptop, and then he built up an athletic apparel brand on Amazon. Okay. And then he built it up. He scaled it to over 7 figures, and he exited the business recently. And then he's transparent with his brand. It's called Beast Gear. And then it really caters to millennials, guys, kind of the whole Bigfoot Sasquatch kind of thing. You're you know what I mean in terms of workout. Yep. So he, as a small brand like the David, he was competing against Under Armour. He was competing against Nike. He was competing against Adidas, on all the huge billion-dollar corporations. But he was able to win. How did he win? He said that he built a following, almost like a cult-like following, using tools like email marketing, using tools like chat, and also guerrilla marketing. By doing this, he was able to build his tribe, okay, of raving fans, and take them with him as he scaled up his business. Okay, so in his masterclass on he calls it micro agility, talking about email marketing, talking about chatbots, SMS. He said that email marketing, this was the most profitable and opportunity-rich channel for him on e-commerce. Okay, so he had his Amazon side of the business, but he also had an external website as well. And then he said through email, he was able to drive 33% of his revenue off of Amazon purely from email, and he automated a lot of that stuff. Okay, he started this business by himself. Okay, and then he also, through email marketing, he's able to create really cool stuff like VIP clubs, in his audience to offer sale prices on products, so to get people to buy more. Okay, he was able to cross sell his different products. There was a knee brace, there's an arm brace, there's all the different types of workout gear. So he's able to cross sell to get higher average order values. So if you guys are, selling, exactly what I'm talking about, right? You bump up the average order value, one sale, you get a ton more revenue and more profits. Okay. And then he even pixels his customers once they visit his website, so he can retarget them later on Facebook and social media. Okay. So you're probably asking, why can't the big corporates do this? Actually, they can, but they're not doing this. Why not? Because number one, it's really hard for them to scale this. And number two, they're really an anonymous corporation. They don't really have a real person, a face. Okay, because Ben actually put himself, on it. He would in the automation, it would generate a text message or a WhatsApp message with his face on it, and he's holding the product, and people are oh shoot, I mean, that's the founder. He actually texted.
He's his own influencer.
Yeah, he's his own influencer. So the big corporates, they can't really do this level of personalization because they're like the Titanic and you're a little speedboat, right? You can really weave in and out, to scoop up all the fish, right? So, he's using, all these cool micro agility tools like email marketing, chat, SMS, WhatsApp, So by doing this, Ben, small brand, was able to scale to over 7 figures, and he exited his business recently, and then he really gets deep in the weeds about this. I mean, I wish we had more time, but case in point, there's so many other examples as well. David can beat Goliath in the battle of e-commerce.
Absolutely. Great tips in terms of like what you can do to add on, but also with agility, add on to your brand and your into your product selection as well. Fantastic information. And again, for everyone who's listening, this is episode 46 of Crossover Commerce. We're talking 7 things 7-figure sellers do to build 7-figure Amazon businesses in 2021. These are tips that Gary Huang, our guest today, is going to be giving his insight from these sellers and then sharing with us some of those tips today. If you like what you hear, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, but also make sure you comment what you do like, what you don't like, so Gary knows who to cut from next year. So if they're not a good tip person, he's not going to invite them back. I'm just kidding.
And also, it helps us improve as well, because we were voted favorite. Favorite Amazon event. Yeah, favorite Amazon event of 2020 in seller poll. So I mean, don't just take my word from it. We had over 3,500 people that watched our summit last year, and we have a great lineup of speakers and sponsors as well. So thanks PingPong for your support. It helps keep us going. All right.
Absolutely. And then with that being said, we want to make sure we get all this in before you have to go at the top of the hour. So about halfway through, we've already hit our top 3. We're on I want to say the back stretch of our tips and selections. If you have another tip that you hear, everyone, again, make sure you comment or share with us what you do like, what you don't like. Take these notes and apply them to your business today. Tip number 4, Gary.
Yeah, so tip number 4 is talking about scaling. So I know a lot of people, they want to scale up their business. Maybe they're at 6 figures, they want to scale up to 7 figures, or they're just starting out with their first product. They want to add multiple more products. Okay, one of the top mistakes that I noticed a lot of 7 figures admitted as they were scaling their business was hiring too late. Okay, hiring, it could be like a VA, it could be an employee, but a lot of times you yourself, and I'm guilty of this as well, right? I mean, we're our own bottleneck, right? We try to be like a one man or one woman show. There's we only have limited time in the day, right? So a lot of times, when you scale, hiring, it's kind of like the lead domino. It's kind of like I was speaking with Nate Ginsburg. He's a 7-figure seller who exited his business for nearly $1 million, and then he runs an agency called Sellerplex. He said that it's kind of like the lead domino. It's like that one thing, right? If you do this right, everything else becomes easier, right? I think Tim Ferriss said that, but I mean the same thing applies in the e-commerce game, right? So Nate Ginsburg really shared how to unplug from your business and scale your Amazon FBA business to 7 figures. He says that there's different roles that you can scale. You can outsource as you scale your FBA business, right? And then he shared which ones you can outsource. You should outsource first. This is all based on his personal experience. He said that asked him, "What's your superpower?" And he said it's building a superstar team, because he can't do everything, right? I mean, he's good in certain respects, but he's weak in others. So he admitted he's not so detail oriented. But the key thing is he was able to hire people that were detail oriented, right? Like the bookkeeper, right? To make sure all the numbers were adding up, right? Customer service reps to handle all of the inquiries. So, that way he can focus on growing his business, right? By adding new products, by, growth strategy, by, possible collaborations, right? By, reducing costs or negotiations, right? So I think that's one of the key things. And the other thing is, as you're hiring people, you really got to systematize all of the processes of your business, right? You got to create standard operating procedures or SOPs. I think some people know what I'm talking about, right? Because that's the key thing. I mean, to make sure that everything flows smoothly. And then I also spoke with Nathan Hirsch He's the former founder of FreeUp. He's probably one of the top people to talk to when it comes to hiring VAs, outsourcing the whole thing. And he really dug deep into how to create SOPs, when to use video, when to use text, when to use a combination, what's the best way to update, how do you motivate these employees, where to look when hiring them, right? I mean, these are all like super critical parts of scaling your business, because if you hire the wrong person or if you don't do it the right way, it could be a struggle. All right. And then, one of the key books to read and highly recommend it is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. I don't know if you've read that one, Ryan. I mean, that one is a classic.
No, I've heard it going around, though. A lot of people are suggesting it to read. For sure.
Yeah, it really, dives deep into the why and the how of systematizing. And, this is the only way that, you can finally, unplug yourself so you're working on your business and not in your business. And and these 7-figure sellers, that's exactly what they did. And, they covered how they did that at the summit. And then besides hiring, you can also, you can automate. Right, you can use. There's tools out there to help you do this. Right, it doesn't have to be like a human doing some of this stuff. Okay, for example, when it comes to, stuff like Amazon reimbursements. Right, there's different services out there that you can delegate. There's services like Katita. They handle Amazon reimbursements, and they're one of our sponsors as well. But bottom line is they can get you your money back, right? From all the Amazon overcharges you on pick and back fees, products they lose, refunds, stuff like that, right? And there's also automation for for example, profit dashboards. There's tools like Sellerboard, right? They can generate your profit and loss like that the worksheet, right? So that can save you a lot of time as well, besides hiring. So remember the 80-20 principle, guys. So you really want to focus on the 1 or 2 key things that make you money, and not on all of the minutia, the stuff that's just moving around money. That's one of the key things to delegate as you hire, as you build out your team, as you automate this whole process, so you can scale your business.
Absolutely. And then obviously scaling is tough. A lot of people just don't know that next step. I think, especially with PingPong, a lot of people we tout like, hey, that next step, make sure you're financially sound, but also make sure you bring on the right teammates too. When you're talking with Nate, you're talking about his business. I was talking with him the other night, just kind of getting his background. Him and I are connected. He's on the other side of the world for me, but he was able to share, obviously, my team is everything to me. I wouldn't have been able to do this without them, and even kept them intact to build his next business that he's with Sellerplex. So he's going to be on in the future. I know a lot of those guys that you're touting with fantastic minds in the Amazon space will be on in the future. We'll make sure that they get to tout their own businesses, but it's fantastic that everyone's coming together for this one event to kind of share those tips and tricks for people again. And then we had a comment actually come through. Excellent show and excellent night from Wagner. Thank you, Wagner, for already commenting in and thinking that 4 of our tips are at least excellent. So stay tuned. We're going to get through the rest of these 7 before the top of the hour. Again, thanks for listening live, everyone, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on LinkedIn. If you have a comment, go ahead and submit it, and we'll see it live. If you have a question for Gary Huang of 7-Figure Seller Summit and 80-20 sourcing, go ahead and submit those in the comments. And then you can also tag us on social media as well. Make sure you listen to this on our podcast channels, wherever you consume your podcast. But tip number 4, scaling your business. Fantastic tip on how to scale your business in 2021. Tip number 5, let's go ahead and jump right into it, Gary.
Yeah. And thanks, Wagner, for the comment. I really appreciate that. I'm glad it's helping. So tip number 5 is, as you scale your business, I mean, sometimes you can't just play offense. You got to play defense, right? I think one of the famous sports coaches said, defense wins championships, right? So you got to play some defense. And what I noticed was like a common thread among these 7-figure sellers that were successful is building a moat around your business. What do I mean by a moat? If you can kind of picture like that those Middle Ages, the castle, right? With like King Arthur and stuff, there's like that water, almost like surrounding the castle. So like the bad guys can't just like jump right into the castle, right? You got to have some protection, right? So it makes it harder for your competitors to compete against you in the e-commerce business world. So case in point, I spoke with Paul Barron, who's a 7-figure seller. And then he and his family, they own a baby swimwear brand that he sells on Amazon. And he he was confident. He was transparent in revealing his brand, because most Amazon sellers, they guard that. That's like their secret sauce, right? They never talk about what they're selling. But the reason he was confident is because he built a moat around his business. How did he do that? So his key strategy is he works with nano influencers to build an army of brand ambassadors. Okay, so what are nano influencers? These are influencers with less than 10,000 followers. Okay, why not focus on like the huge ones? Well, Paul says the nano influencers tend to be more real people with real followers, not just like fake numbers that people buy, or like, Kim Kardashian, if she does something like a sponsorship, people kind of know that she's getting paid for that. It's not real, right? But these are the nano influencers. They're real people like you and me, right? I mean, it could be like your friend, right? And it's also more cost effective as well. You don't have to drop like a ton of money to get them help. Oftentimes, they'll do it for free. Just, you can send a product to them. Of course, you have to tailor it to the right people, right? So Paul shared that not only do these nano influencers help promote Paul's baby swimwear brand, but they also create content for his brand and his company. So literally, he gets thousands of pictures on Instagram that people submit, that people share, their babies wearing the swimwear, right? That he can share and that he can repurpose, and he can use them as lifestyle photos. I mean, that's like the most effective type of marketing. It's not just like a commercial you see on TV. It's like a real person using your product, to solve their problem, right? And then he shared that, he's not afraid of copycats because he's built a moat around his business with his army of brand ambassadors. It's social proof. It helps him get more sales. It helps him get more reviews on Amazon. It helps him get feedback from real people that he can use to develop new products. Okay. It helps him launch as well, right? He has an audience, right? So this is one way you can build a moat around your business. And Paul, he's very successful at that. And, he revealed his product on our summit. Okay. So I think, a lot of people can learn from that because most people haven't done this. Okay. Not only that, you can build a moat around your business on the sourcing side. Okay. I spoke with a 7-figure seller based in China. He's a Brit. His name is Chris Davey. He's like a very smart guy when it comes to product design. Okay. He works with an industrial designer to create unique products that you can't find on Alibaba. Okay. Literally, it's custom design. Like they create their own tooling or their mold for his products. Okay. And then he owns that. So nobody else can just legally go on Alibaba to get that. Okay. He owns it. All right. So it's very difficult for copycats unless, they spend the same amount of money, the thousands of dollars in tooling to develop this. And this takes time and money, right? So that's another way you can build a moat around your business. Okay. And another strategy that I really love came from a 7-figure seller in Lithuania, Simas Želvys. He's running a 7-figure business based in Lithuania, and he uses a sourcing diversification strategy. Okay, so this way, he doesn't give away the secret sauce. So no one, supplier or packager can see the entire product. So what he does is he sources, part of the product in China, part of the product from Poland, other parts of Europe. Okay, he brings all the parts to Lithuania, where he lives. Okay, and then he has a warehouse, package it and bundle all the products. Okay, so this way no factory and nobody else can easily copycat his products, because the Chinese sellers only see one piece of the puzzle. The Poland supplier only sees the other piece of the puzzle, and he has the secret sauce that he holds in his warehouse. Okay, so I think that these are some ways you can build a moat around your business. There's a lot of other ways as well that we covered in the summit, but because of time, I just wanted to share these 3 with you. So hope that helps.
No, absolutely. I know Paul is also a friend of the show, talked about his mini chat techniques, but also being open and honest, I think, is one of his superpowers, if you will. Since we were talking about superpowers earlier, is that he wants to help people and he feels like it would come back tenfold when he does that. And he works with a group of other top Amazon minds in the space. They always tout working with micro influencers because you had said it's free content. It's as simple as asking them for, hey, do you mind taking a picture of my product, we'll feature it on our website or feature it in our lifestyle images. And they have thousands upon thousands of pictures from actual clients where you can tout social proof. You can use it for your advertising. You can use it for your website. All of that is free content, whether you would be paying, thousands of dollars to a larger influencer like you said, Kim Kardashian, or another person with millions of followers. You have to also realize that who you're trying to reach isn't always going to be reached by those kinds of people. So by the end of the day, it's more cost effective for lots of people to use micro influencers. Fantastic tip. I love it. For the sake of time, tip number 6, Gary.
All right. Okay. So number 6 is about profitability. Okay. We cover this in day 4 on this episode. So just to let you guys know, so day 1 is all about mindset. Okay. Day 2 is all about branding, marketing. People like Paul, they get really deep into this. Day 3 is about scaling. So you'll hear from, people like, Nate Ginsburg, Nathan Hirsch, talking about all these different scaling strategies. Also, selling internationally, like the sellers in Lithuania, like Chris Davey, the guy in China, expanding to the different marketplaces. Day 4 is all about profitability, which is where we're going to talk about right now. Number 1 profitability tip is to know your numbers. Okay, I think it was Peter Drucker. He said, whatever gets measured gets managed, right? This 100%, this is true in the e-commerce world. A lot of people, they try to 80-20 this. This is like the one thing you should not be 80-20. Okay, I mean, knowing your numbers. Okay, for example, PPC, right? Amazon PPC is becoming more and more a pay-to-play game to sell on Amazon. According to big sellers like Bernie Thompson, 8-figure seller in the electronics niche. He owns Pluggable. He has a moat around his business. He was transparent with his brand. It's a great way to compete. PPC, a great way to compete in a white hat way. And Amazon shares the exact search term buyers are using to find your products. But really, you got to know your numbers so you don't overspend. Okay, you don't overspend on the bleeders, right? The keywords that are bleeding money, the ones that are just skyrocketing a cost. You can easily lose thousands of dollars if you're not paying attention. This has happened to a lot of people. I've been guilty of this. I know a lot of other sellers I've spoken to. They're guilty of this. So you really have to know your numbers. Also, on the positive side, certain 7-figure sellers like Cameron Walker. He's a Canadian based in China. He runs an 8-figure business with his family. He knows his numbers on the product SKU level, and then he monitors them. And then doing this has enable him to create an 8-figure business, right? Not only, the sales, right? He goes really deep, right? He pays attention to the sourcing cost, to the shipping cost, to the duty, to the tariffs, to the FBA fees, and also including advertising. A lot of people overlook PPC, okay? And then he really pays attention to the profits dashboard. He monitors them. He looks at the monthly summary report, the detailed transaction reports. I mean, this is how he's able to run a profitable business. It's really, people say it's like a game of inches, right? Take product sizing, for example. I mean, Cameron, he knows the exact dimensions of his packaging as weight. He said literally he has like Amazon's different size tiers and the cost memorized like in his mind. So, when he's speccing out his product, he's building out the product, he makes sure he doesn't go over, that 0.75 inch thickness or like, that weight, right? I think it's like 330 grams. That way, he can maximize his product and then also minimize his cost. Now, most of his competitors are not doing this on such a granular level. That means more profitability to him. He knows his numbers. Okay, 8-figure seller, Cameron Walker, definitely check out his section, top 10 ways he scaled his business to 8 figures. Also, in terms of your product inventory, you got to know your numbers. You got to know your sales forecast, right? You got to know your delivery times, with the delays coming now before Chinese New Year, so you don't go out of stock. That's like one of the cardinal sins of being e-commerce seller, right? Going out of stock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that it's zeros on the board. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, everyone's guilty of this. It's happened to me. It's happened to every seller. Okay, and then the last thing with profitability is you got to watch your fees, right? You got to watch your Amazon fees, especially if you're selling internationally. If you're selling internationally, definitely consider tools like PingPong, right? When I first sold internationally, my first year selling internationally, I used Amazon's default currency converter, to bring all the foreign sales, the international sales back to my home country. By doing that, I spent 3.9% on the Amazon conversion fees, which is huge. At the end of the year, I sat down with my accountant, and then he told me, Gary, you spent tens of thousands of dollars, just on this currency fees. I totally didn't know that. I wasn't paying attention to my numbers, so now, I'm using PingPong. PingPong was able to lower that rate to less than 1%. I mean, obviously it depends on, what your volume, but at the same time, I saved about 2.9% over, 6-figure business. That's tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of the business, right? So highly recommend you guys, look at the numbers, watch your fees, and this could, it makes like a huge difference in your business, and especially, going to number 7, especially if you want to sell your business, because knowing your numbers, knowing your profits, that will determine the ultimate selling price of your business. Okay, that's why knowing your numbers is so important.
Absolutely. And that's what I tell all the time, is the hidden fees that people aren't aware of. Obviously, it's something that if you're an Amazon seller growing internationally or even paying your suppliers, it's always something that you have to be aware of. That's what we try to shine a light on. So thank you for that in terms of profitability. And then Gary, number 7 in our episode of 777, 7 tips by 7-figure sellers to grow your business to 7 figures in 2021. What is number 7?
Number 7 is talking about exits, to sell your business, because right now in 2021, Amazon businesses are hot, okay, for buyers. All right. 5 years ago, if Ryan, you and me, we were to tell someone, hey, we're going to sell an Amazon business, they would think you're crazy. I mean, what are you talking about? An Amazon business? What's that? Right. But nowadays, you're seeing a lot of the smart money, the institutional investors, they're getting into the Amazon space because they see during the pandemic, like literally the only industry that's like booming is e-commerce, right? Because everyone, they don't want to go out. They're stuck in quarantine. They're not going to restaurants. What are they doing for fun besides binging on Netflix? They're shopping online, right? I don't know about you and me, but I'm shopping on Amazon all the time, right? And the smart money is aware of that, so they're getting into this space. So companies like Thrasio and other Amazon acquirers, they're really snatching up e-commerce businesses right now. If you look at the numbers in the past year, over $1 billion in funding has been raised in the past 12 months, right? I was speaking to a broker, Alison Walker from e-com brokers in Scotland. These buyers, they have cash. They're ready to buy right now. If you look at companies like Thrasio, they acquired not only all those businesses in the U.S., but also in Europe. This is happening all over the world. Okay, but it's not just so simple as listing my business and selling it. Okay, there's more nuance behind it, especially if you want to get a higher multiple. Okay, so talking to probably like a dozen 7-figure sellers through the years that I've been doing this, I noticed some key things in best practices, ways that you can maximize your selling price. So I think this is super important. If you can just take one nugget from this, it might add an extra 0 to your bottom line if you want to exit your business. And why do people want to sell it? Because this is probably the most valuable asset that you have right now. It's probably worth more than your car. It's probably worth more than your house. I mean, unless Ryan, you live in like a huge mansion. I don't know.
That's not true. I live in the middle of a cornfield in Indiana, man. It's not a mansion by any means, but it's a nice house. But I'm comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, so if you're running an e-commerce business, and I was speaking with Kellyanne Fidio. She's a 7-figure seller that former attorney. She's a mompreneur based in California. She exited her business, and I asked her why, and she said, it's her biggest asset. It's very risky to keep all your eggs in one basket, right? It can all go away. Everyone knows about the Amazon suspensions, right? That's the nightmare scenario, right? So, I mean, this could be the end game for a lot of sellers, right? Because if you do exit, it can be over 50% of your income, through the life of the business, right? More than the Amazon payment that they send you every 2 weeks, and so that's why it's so important. So what are buyers looking for? I think that's the key question. So as of right now, in 2021, here are a couple of, I would say, a couple of key best practices. Okay, number 1, buyers, they want to see an established track record. Okay, at least 12 months, 24 months preferred. Okay, they don't want to see just like like a one and done, like a one-hit wonder, just like spiking for like 3 months. Okay, you got to have some track record. Okay, number 2, in terms of the sales volume, they want to see at least $1 million in annual sales. Okay, at least a 7-figure business, that's more attractive. 3 to 5 million is preferred. Okay, that might earn you higher multiple. I'm not saying that these are black and white. These are ways to boost your multiple or boost your selling price. Okay.
Absolutely.
Number 3 is sales diversification. Okay. It's less risk for the buyer. So what do I mean by sales diversification? Sales off of Amazon. It could be your Shopify site. It could be Walmart. It could be another platform. Okay, it could even be selling internationally. Okay, but the key benchmark is they want to see 30% off of Amazon. That's less risky from the buyer's perspective. Okay. In addition, profit margins. Okay, they like to see healthy, solid profit margins, 30% or more. Okay, that's more attractive. That would earn you a higher multiple. That's why, number 6, knowing your numbers is so important. Okay, every $100 you save, that could be worth like $300 when you exit. Every $10,000 you save, that could be worth like $30,000 or $40,000 added to your exit. Think of it that way. That's why number 6 is so important. Okay, solid profit margins. The next one is having a real brand. Okay, not just like a hero product that's generating the lion's share of your sales and some minions going along with that, right? You gotta have a product portfolio. These products complement each other. Think about Ben Leonard, with his Beast Gear. So he literally had like a whole lineup of people work out. He had like the weight gloves, right? He started with the weight gloves and then he branched out. Maybe it was like the belt, maybe it was like the knee brace. When you're doing deadlifts, right? These products complement each other. It's not just like a hero product and that's it. Okay. They also like to see a community of raving fans. Okay. Something like an email list or like a following on social media. That really helps boost your multiple. And then in addition, they want to see solid financials, right? A profit and loss statement. This is key. So again, know your numbers. And last thing, the bottom line is profitability. Okay. That's going to determine your selling price. So these are the key things what buyers are looking for. And by doing these things right, this will help you maximize your selling price.
Absolutely. Again, number 7, fantastic. I actually spoke to 2 different brokerage firms today that are trying to educate the community. They're obviously touting what Thrasio, Perch, Recon Brands, but now Elevate Brands are doing. Those kinds of companies are just growing so quickly. But when I spoke to them today, it was so fascinating to hear that this is your biggest asset that you'll probably ever have in your business. And to prepare you for that, obviously work with people that will work for you, but know all the facts, know all those things to help optimize your business, your brand, whatever you're selling to these potential companies. Make sure that it's to its fullest extent because you don't want to get cheated out. It's like Shark Tank, right? You're building something that's personable to you. You want to build something either and let it go so that you can take care of yourself and your family for generations to come. So again, that's fantastic. That is what a lot of people are looking for, to see those trends continue in 2021. 7 tips to build 7-figure businesses from 7-figure sellers already. So Gary Huang, why don't you go ahead? Can you recap real quickly those top bullet points for us before I let you go for your next? I know you're back to back already on this show, so yeah. Why don't we recap real quickly?
Definitely.
Those 7 before we leave and give you a recap on 7-figure sellers.
Sure. Yeah. So to recap, number 1 is mindset, right? Don't see failure as an end. Failure is part of success. Number 2, you got to zig when everyone else zags. All right. Number 3, in the game of e-commerce, David can win against Goliath. Okay, we're the Davids out there. We're nimble. We're speedboats. Remember that. Okay. Number 4, when scaling, hiring, that's the lead domino. Okay, building that team, so you take yourself out as the bottleneck. Number 5, think about defense. Okay, build a moat around your business. Okay, so you can protect yourself against competitors. Number 6, profitability. Know your numbers. Number 7, exits are hot, but you have to plan it out right to maximize your selling price. Okay. So this was just the tip of the iceberg. These were just my personal 7. Ryan, yours may be different. People watching out there, like Wagner, yours may be different. But everyone's at a different stage of their business. But I think the key thing is, if you really want to build your business, scale your business, and exit, definitely it makes sense to learn from people that have done it, right? So that's why I created the 7-Figure Seller Summit. I'm a seller and I'm kind of scratching my own itch because I really want to know how these guys are doing it, right? Because a lot of these people, there's some famous names out there, but there's some people that most people haven't heard of. They're not selling a course; they're just doing it, So I was able to find them, using my network, and then hopefully this will help you guys. And So check out, if you want a free pass, check out sevenfiguresellersummit.com. We're going to launch February 8th. So make sure you get a free pass now, and then watch out for our emails. And yeah, so I think, just in parting right now, I mean, it's tough for everyone, right? We're in quarantine, most of us. A lot of times, like, your family doesn't get it, your friends don't get it. Like e-commerce, they think, what's that, right? They think it's like get rich quick, it's a scam, but it's not, because we see the real people, they're doing it, right? So I think besides just learning, just being able to surround ourselves with like-minded entrepreneurs, sellers from all over the world. I'm sitting in Japan, Ryan, you're sitting in the US, we have people from all over the world, right? I think that helps people just like in the mindset, right? So in addition, something else I forgot to mention is every day, at the end of every day, we have a recap. So we have a live recap. You guys can come on, you guys can ask questions. We'll get some guest speakers on as well, right? And then this way, every day, we're going to help you take action, get you unstuck, and move you forward with your business as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, really appreciate
it. The link for the 7-Figure Seller Summit is scrolling below. We'll make sure we put it in the comments of this video, as well as the descriptions. You'll be hearing more if you follow PingPong Payments email list and social media. We'll be posting more about it. Again, I was a speaker. I was really excited to be invited on to share my tips and tricks about what I understand in the e-commerce business. Thank you for listening. And thank you, obviously, Gary, for hopping on today. You're a busy guy. I know you're talking to so many different people to amp up this program. I think what you're doing is very valuable in terms of, obviously, the COVID era. One of these days, we'll be doing them in person soon enough, hopefully. So, but until then, we're happy to contribute where we can. Thank you so much for hopping on another episode of Crossover Commerce. So appreciate your time today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, guys. Actually, we have John Lee from Korea as well tuning in. So
look at that. We're speaking. Thanks for the info. Yeah. It's early in Korea right now. I'm not typically up this late going live to Korea, but thanks, John, for listening all the way from Korea. Again, this is not just for United States sellers. This is for sellers all around the world. Thank you for, tuning in live again on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Gary, thank you so much. I know you have to bolt for another call. So go ahead and sign up. And thanks for joining again, friend of the show. We'll be in touch very soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Gary. And thank you again, everyone who's listening again. This is Crossover Commerce. This is our show that goes live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Go ahead and download as well. Don't forget to subscribe and download to our podcast that go out on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as Google Podcasts, or wherever truly where you consume your podcast. Those are all consumable so that you can listen to them live wherever you're traveling to, or if you're at home and you just don't have time to listen to us live. Thank you again for joining us live. We're going to go again tomorrow, or excuse me, on Friday. We'll be back live with Marcus Patty from Helium 10. We're going to just talk about state of e-commerce in 2021, his insights, our tips and tricks that we're both seeing, and kind of do an Ask Us Anything session. So go ahead and tune us live. Go ahead and subscribe to us on our social media channels as well, so that you can be aware of any other future episodes of Crossover Commerce. Again, for Gary Huang of 7-Figure Seller Summit, I'm Ryan Kramer, the host of this show. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll catch you next time. For those of you who are also fans of PingPong Payments, go ahead and subscribe to our webinar tomorrow. We're actually, this would be on Thursday in US time. We are going to be doing a webinar with Zonguru as well as Profit Whales. We're going to be talking about just successes on Amazon and how to be successful. And again, all their tips and tricks that they're going to share. I'll be hosting that as well. So go ahead and subscribe to our social media channels. Again, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram for those kinds of notifications. Again, thank you so much for joining us live on Crossover Commerce. I'm the host, Ryan Kramer. Thanks again.